Hey everybody, in this video we're going to be doing a budget men's fashion haul. We have clothing from H&M, we have clothing from Uniqlo, and we have clothing from J.Crew. And all of the purchases are within the $10 to $25 dollar range. So it's affordable for any young man. And these are young men clothes, but generally speaking, I think any age group can do well with these clothes because I believe in a timeless fashion sense where you can wear something no matter what age you are, no matter what decade it is, and it'll still look sharp and clean. So without further ado, this unboxing is getting underway. I'm actually pretty excited about this, but also I have to stop spending money on clothing. I know I get really excited now that I'm getting into clothing, and I'm really good at spotting deals online, as I always have been for many things. And I've got to cut back on the purchases, but I'm excited. Let's start with the H&M one. You know, H&M, I think I'm probably the least excited about this just because they have like the lowest quality, but the prices are good. And for me, I'm more of a high quality person. I'm willing to spend a little more for something that lasts a lot longer and feels a lot better. However, in terms of polos, I've heard a lot of great things about their polos because apparently their quality is like pretty darn high, even though it's H&M level pricing. So this is like the one thing I will get from H&M. And just unboxing it, the color is a little bit off. So I opted for the light blue polo. They are about $13 each, and I got a deal for free shipping. So this is what it looks like, and right off the bat, I am not happy with the color, just to be frank. And one thing with online purchases is like the chances of me going back to the store or sending it back is just too much of a hassle. So that's a risk, and usually I don't return stuff, even if I hate it. And so that sucks. So this was a slim fit light turquoise polo, and off the bat, I'm not happy with the color. It's too light, and color is really important if you want something that's timeless. I don't even know if I want to open this because it looks kind of off. You know, in the picture, it was light blue, but this is like a light greenish blue, which I'm not too happy with. In terms of putting it on, we'll put this to the side and I'll decide later on. But there you go. There's your H&M polo. It's one of the only things I buy from H&M because quality. I've learned from experience that quality really matters, and you should be willing to pay a higher price. And this is coming from a cheap Asian guy who used to always get the lowest price. You pay in the long run if you buy the cheapest thing, because it'll break very quickly, it'll look crappy on you, and it's just not worth it. I've learned that the hard way. So this one is from Uniqlo, which I'm pretty excited about. Uniqlo has a great reputation. I think it's kind of like the better version of H&M in certain ways. And I got this for $10. Can you believe it? So Uniqlo recently upped their prices on their standard short sleeve crew necks and V-necks from $10 to $15 each. And that's a huge price hike. I mean, if you're buying 4 or 5 t-shirts at a time, there's a significant difference in that. And I guess it's because they started to realize that their polos were really good and people were buying them, and they had to up the prices or whatever it was. But they had a promo for whatever reason where they were going to temporarily drop the prices back down to the original $10 as just some type of temporary sale on their website. So I saw that and I was like, okay, I'm going to get it. Plus, they offered free shipping to make the deal even sweeter. Now, this isn't my first Uniqlo polo. I've bought a few of these in the past, but they've been kind of hit or miss. And what I mean by that is that one of them I bought, it got a couple holes on right up here within the first few weeks. And I heard all these great things about the quality of their t-shirts and how the prices are just amazing. Like out of any brand out there, in terms of quality and price ratio, Uniqlo just does it so well. Their quality is not like the highest, but it's not the lowest. I would peg it as mid high, and their pricing I would peg at like low mid, and that's saying something. Like H&M, you know, you got those low bottom prices, almost Old Navy level prices, which is great. But then the quality of their stuff is kind of hit or miss sometimes, and you're gonna get stuff that's like low to mid tier or low tier, like stuff that's gonna like break in like a year or less of wear. It's kind of like Forever 21 for girls. So I never really liked that about it, and some people love H&M. Um, and I do wear some of their stuff and like some of their stuff, but there's a trade-off there. And so, you know, I haven't given up on Uniqlo, so give me a second. I'm going to try this on, and I'll just show you how good the fit is for the price. All right, so I'm back here. I'm always a small, but I have been working out a bit. But this just gives you a sense of how it looks from front to back. Um, One thing, probably the biggest thing that's you have to look for when it comes to a t-shirt is the arm length. Most t-shirts I buy, and you'll see that when I go back to my previous t-shirt, the sleeve will flare out a bit at the end. Uh, with Uniqlo, somehow they've just gotten the sleeve length just right for me. I mean, unless you have really massive arms because you're doing tons of tricep extensions, usually a lot of these sleeve lengths just flare out, and people don't notice that. But if you get this like tight and tapered in, like Uniqlo's, it makes your arms look bigger. Because if anything that's too loose or too tight, just makes you look awful. It just makes you look tiny or just very flabby. If anything, it's a little bit tight here. Like my chest is pretty tight, and I wouldn't say while I do deadlift and bench press, I mean, I'm not some massive bodybuilder, so it's a little bit tight here. Um, Another thing you want to look for is fit here. So you want to pinch around 1 to 2 inches max, and usually t-shirts go too wide here, like way too wide here. But this one, look how nice it fits here. It has about 1 inch on each side. If anything, it's a little too tight. And then here's the back here, you know, pretty well fit together. In terms of the quality, you know, all good t-shirts are going to be 100% cotton usually. That said, the stitching and, you know, the care they put into the cotton, that's a noticeable difference. And with this one, you can just tell, like this type of cotton, for some reason, it's rough but somewhat smooth. And I like the ones that are kind of like this, maybe a little bit more smooth. But everyone has their own preferences, and I just think this is pretty sharp. I've tried on a lot of different types of t-shirts, and for me, with my kind of somewhat athletic, skinny build, it works really well. You know, I've tried Banana Republic, and they kind of flare out here and here. And then I've tried The Gap, and their t-shirts are really rough. Banana Republic has, I think they added a tiny, like 1% to 5% of bamboo or something, which makes it very smooth. But you're going to be paying more for those. So this is up there. Would I say it's the best t-shirt in the world? No. Would I say it's the worst? No. If by far, it's not the worst. I would put it in my top three brands of t-shirts. So I'm feeling really happy about this. Let me switch back to my other one just to give you a sense. My other one's a Banana Republic t-shirt. So here's the Banana Republic t-shirt. There's something they do with the fabric that makes it slightly more smooth and silky. It's not silk that they weave in, but it's some type of like, it could be, or I could look it up right now. Okay, so it's 100% cotton, but somehow they've weaved the cotton a bit differently. There's multiple weaves of cotton that you can do, and at least from how I perceive it, somehow Banana Republic's t-shirts were always a little bit more smooth and silky, which I like. In terms of the flare, look at that. There's a flare there, and look at that. There's a flare. So I'd have to either do more, curls and tricep extensions, which is going to take a while for me to fill out. And then here, this is also small. Look, it kind of flares out, but it's not horrible, and it gives me a little bit more room. My chest isn't tight as it is with the other one, so there's pros and cons to that, either or. If they could make Banana Republics just a little tighter here and here, but not too tight in the chest, it would be perfect for me. That's just my preference. And so let's move on to the next thing in our haul. Finally, we move on to J.Crew, which is probably the most expensive of these brands. I would put this at Banana Republic level or higher, because sometimes J.Crew prices are higher than Banana Republic's. And so it's more of a premium line brand, but it's not like Gucci or anything like that. It's just like premium in terms of what you can realistically buy. Like, ain't no way I'm spending $1,000 for a t-shirt with Gucci on it. Like, that's just ridiculous to me. So this time I decided to get a white Oxford t-shirt. In fact, it's my first white Oxford t-shirt. I never really understood the difference between a dress shirt and an Oxford shirt until everyone kept harping on it in men's fashion. Turns out, like, first off, the cotton is different. It's a specific Oxford weave that's kind of light but also kind of rough. So it's a more casual feel. And then, of course, you can always tell because they have a little button at the end of the collar, which gives it a more informal feel to it. So this is actually my first ever Oxford dress shirt, and I'm pretty, on first impressions, I like it overall. Now, how did I get this on around $30? Well, I think it just comes down to shopping for deals. Usually, if you were to buy this full price, it comes with a little note from the CEO just saying, we never take for granted the choices you make. We're excited to continue doing business. Okay, that's pretty cool. But if you look at the, if you look for the sales, you can usually find something that's pretty good if you're vigilant. I usually check the sales on the big seasons throughout the year when a holiday comes up, like Black Friday, or if you like to have alerts set up, you can set up a alert using the free app Shop Tagger, which will alert you if there's a significant price drop in email form, or you can check the forums that always kind of keep you posted if there's any big price drops. And that's what I did for this one. There's a Reddit subreddit called Frugal Men's Fashion, and it'll post any big sales. Usually, even the big premium retailers will do a couple sales every year. Usually once per quarter, and the big ones are usually once every 6 months or every year. And so you can get this for 50% off, 60% off if you're really lucky. Usually 50 to 40% off if you look for a good deal. So let me put this on. This is also small, and usually J.Crew is true to size in the sense that what you see is what you get. And I've bought smalls from J.Crew before. Usually they're Henleys and they're dress shirts, and it usually fits me well as a small. So of course I need to iron this because it is a little bit wrinkly, but here's a sense of how it looks. In general, first impressions, of course, this needs to be ironed. Look how it looks. It's way too wrinkled, first off. But on top of that, I think there's a little bit of space in my arms here, not as much with my forearm. And then if you look at arm length, that's another thing here. You usually want it to stop before the bend in your bone here, or like top of your palms when you make your arm like this. So when I do that here, you can't really see it in the camera view. Maybe if I go on my tippy toes, it's over. It goes over about half an inch. So if I was rich enough to get it tailored, I would want it something like that. So that's unfortunate, but I'll have to keep it. Um, the ironing I can fix. This in my arms, I don't like it. I think it's too much. It's about 2 inches almost. I want that to be 1 inch max of like space. The looser it looks, the more, you know, the more skinny I look, and it looks kind of terrible that way. Other than that, let me lift my arms up just to give you a sense of how it looks here. And then this is how it looks there. And then this is, just generally how it looks. If you can imagine this fully ironed out, it won't look as bad. I could see this as a very, semi-formal, casual, business casual environment setting. You could wear this. You could layer some things on top, like a bomber jacket or a overcoat or peacoat, and it might look pretty nice. In general, the fit is decent. There's about an inch on each side of the waist, which is good. And then I could wear this, untucked or tucked. It has that like divot here, which can work for untucked or tucked. In general, I'm feeling okay about this. I'm not as excited as I initially would have thought I would be, but maybe it's just because it's wrinkled now, and then once I get it ironed, it'll look a bit better. In general, not too bad. The biggest things would be the sleeve length's a little bit long, and it's a little wide here. And in terms of chest tightness, it's giving me a little bit of room here, so I'm not feeling it there. The neck can get a little bit tight. I'm already feeling it, and I don't have it buttoned. If I button it, I can fit about 2.5 fingers in my neck, which is roughly where you want it. Max is probably 2.5, and you don't want it under 1 finger. So it's in that, agreeable range. But for me personally, I just like it relatively looser. So I would even prefer if it had 3 fingers, which it pretty much almost does. But I don't like getting choked here in the neck. But in general, let me know your thoughts. Do you think it's too loose? Do you think it's okay? But there you go. All these things are essential items. Oh yeah, back to the polo shirt. Should I try this on? Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna try this on for you, just to give you a sense of what it looks like. Yep, you guys made me do it. I am gonna try this on for you. So while I'm trying that on, I just want to give you another budget hunting tip. Know your baselines. If you know the baseline prices that certain items sell for, it's so much easier to know whether or not you're being gypped or if you're getting a real good deal. And an easy way of doing that is to just keep checking on an item throughout the year. Maybe once a month, once every 2 weeks. Just get a sense for what that item usually sells at. And by doing that, you could even just do it once every 2 months if you don't have the time. And by doing that, you will know, for example, I know that this shirt usually sells for $12.99 because it has been for the last 3 years. All right, here I am with the turquoise polo tried on. And in terms of the fit, it seems like every other H&M polo I've ever bought. So it just goes to show you that there's a certain level of consistency between the purchases for a polo shirt. And that is fantastic because there's plenty of brands out there where you're buying this, when you buy the same size, same brand, same model, the fit can range all over the place, and that just points to the inconsistency of the factory production, which is a whole ordeal and systematized process and problem on its own. But at least for H&M, they got their polos down. Like, look at the sleeve length here, perfect. It's not flaring out. It has a little bit of, just like the Uniqlo one, it has some stitching here, which kind of like binds your arm like a rubber band, so that no matter how big or wide your length is, with just a little bit of resistance, it'll prevent any flaring out, which is spectacular. Another thing that you may want to consider is just how loose it is around certain parts. Here, I've got a good one, and depending on how far I stretch it, actually no, this is actually pretty loose. If I really stretch it, it's about 3.5 inches, which is too much. If I barely stretch it, it's about 2 inches. So it's a little too loose down here, which I don't like. In terms of the quality of the fabric, great. I mean, it's cotton. It's very lightweight. It's very thin. And then the collar, of course, it's very tight and structured. But I've heard that within a year or two, they tend to flop and end up very floppy. However, given the price point, I mean, it's just a good pickup. Here's a 360 of it. The color itself, I'm not a huge fan of. I decided to go light blue because, in terms of timeless colors, it's usually white, black, gray, navy blue, and maybe you could throw in a brown in there if you really wanted to, or more earthy tones, like a darker green. But it's summertime, and you can't really go with half of those colors because they're more darker summertime. They're not for the summertime. The light will just absorb that and heat your body up. So, I got tired of buying white and gray ones, and I wanted to try something new, and I figured, light blue is, within that range technically, but just lighter, more neutral and more summertimey. I'm not a huge fan of the pastel color. In the picture, it looked a little bit better, like a more darker blue, but I can't hold them for that. I think sometimes, maybe it was me, maybe the picture was how it looked, and I just perceived it in my mind to look a bit different. But, notice how it really accentuates my arms, compared to some of the previous other options. My arm size hasn't changed. It's just the appearance of a well-fitted polo shirt. Because it fits rather than flaring out or squeezing your arm too tightly, it looks as if my muscles have gotten bigger because it's a well-fitted shirt. Many people make the mistake of believing that it has to be too loose or too tight to fit well. But that's one of the golden rules to good fashion. It has to fit well. Chest fits pretty well too. There's a bit of looseness, which is good. If I look in the back here, there's a little bit of room here as there is up here, same thing. Look how much though. That's a lot. And then if I pull it this way, that much. And this is a small. So, I don't know what happened with the material because I've bought other stuff from H&M that are polo specific and it does not flare out as much. Okay, so here's the makeup. 57% cotton, 38% polyester, and 5% spandex. So there's less cotton than I would have liked, and that's what makes it kind of very flimsy. And of course, it's super stretchy because of that as well, especially down here, which I don't like. So, that's the biggest thing here. Like, this is supposed to probably accommodate a lot of different waist sizes, but unfortunately it does make me look a bit loose down here, which I don't like. I wish it was just slightly tighter, like the Uniqlo t-shirt. So that ends my haul, and in conclusion, I think if I had to rank these items, the Uniqlo t-shirt, just based on the color and the fit and everything, comes in first. And then number 2 would probably be this Oxford dress shirt. And we'll have to see because it really depends on how it looks once I iron it. And then this would come in third, but barely. I mean, it's almost a tie with the J.Crew Oxford shirt. Like, the color's a bit off, but other than that, you know, and the looseness, I mean, it's really not bad. It's just a standard H&M polo, which I love. I have plenty of those. So other than that, I just want to give you a little tip about purchasing and happiness. So I bought this whole haul of clothing, and in terms of my happiness from it, the actual boost is not as high as I expected. So you really want to start buying things that really make a huge difference. And those are usually experiences or things that really make a huge impact in terms of fashion, in terms of your actual wardrobe impact. So one thing that I got a lot of joy from was my bomber jacket, my leather bomber jacket. It just looked so nice, it fit well, and that's something I'll be using quite often. Another thing I got a lot of joy and impact from were my Vans slip-ons. They just work really well for me because I love to just slip onto a shoe, and they look really good as well. So some things just hit, and the things that hit are usually things that you wear very often and look really, really good on you. And you have to experiment sometimes, like I am now, to find those things. But you know, focus on those, because most of the stuff, you know, in your head, like, that's just a nice to try. It's not a necessary thing, and the impact is fairly minimal. I thought this one, since it's really an essential item, would have a huge impact on my happiness, but it really comes down to whether I wear it or not. And for me, I'm more of a t-shirt guy, a polo guy, and so especially with polos, especially with V-necks and t-shirts, I'll be wearing a lot of those. So getting a good t-shirt, sometimes that's what makes me happy. Sometimes it's just a nice pair of shoes. I mean, here's a nice pair of shoes. These white Adidas Stan Smiths, I mean, I get a lot of happiness from there. The price point, amazing. The look of these white shoes, classic. And, you know, that's all it takes. So the impact, the use of these shoes. I mean, I'm probably not going to be wearing this Oxford shirt much. If I am, then maybe my happiness will boost, but probably not. So there you have it. I think I've learned a lot of things from this. And, you know, we'll have to wait and see, because will this new Uniqlo shirt get a lot of holes on the sleeve as well? If it is, it's a bad sign. But hopefully you enjoyed, and see you in my next video.